Those Trump tariffs aimed against Canada, Mexico and China are going ahead first thing tomorrow morning, even as investors in the United States economy warn that they will mean higher inflation and lower growth. President Trump still hasn't made up his mind about us and tariffs, it seems, but let's talk to somebody already at the sharp end of all of this, the Canadian High Commissioner in London, Ralph Goodale. Ralph, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I don't know whether I should call you Mr. Ambassador or not, but thank you for being here anyway. This is going to feel very uncomfortable for Canadians. You know, most of you live very close to the American border. You regard the Americans as friends and neighbours, and suddenly you are in something like an economic war with them.
Yes, this is a ruthless attack against a friend, a neighbor, an ally, and a partner. It's not only appallingly dishonorable, as Mr. Trudeau pointed out, it is incredibly dumb. And the Wall Street Journal has now said that twice in their editorials. And so have a great many U.S. senators and congressmen. So has the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And today, in no uncertain terms, so has the stock market, which has really tanked a huge amount of value in the last several hours. So obviously, this is, as the Wall Street Journal says, a dumb move. But Canadians will stand their ground and fight back as we have to, and we do so, Mr. Marr, knowing that this is the action of a particular U.S. government. It is not the overwhelming will of the American people. And in conversations we have with the American people day in and day out, all the time, we know where their real sentiments are. And many of them are as confused about this because they know they will pay a heavy price. These tariffs will be paid by Americans, and these tariffs will cost American jobs, American growth, American opportunity, all of that going down the drain because of a very dumb policy.
High Commissioner, absolutely fascinating. Can I ask you about something else Mr. Trudeau said today? And he didn't seem to be joking. He said that Donald Trump wants to collapse the Canadian economy as part of his plan to annex Canada. Now, when Donald Trump originally talked about taking Canada in as another state of the United States, we kind of thought he was joking. But it's beginning to look as if certainly Mr. Trudeau doesn't think he's joking.
I think pretty well everybody at the beginning thought that was a bit of a joke or a lark or a quip or something that would evaporate into the ether. But look at the behavior, and it's pretty hard to conclude that it's a joke. We're taking it seriously, and we are concerned about our critical minerals, about our fresh water, about our energy resources, and about our sovereignty. And that's why this past weekend, it was so important for the Prime Minister to sit down with His Majesty the King, who is the head of state for Canada. He is the King of Canada. And it was very important for the two of them to have that important conversation.
And I'm sure he'll be very, very concerned about what you've been saying. But you seriously think that the United States, under Donald Trump, is going after the sovereignty of Canada?
The American people, no. But this particular administration, in effect, that is what they have said. And they've said it over and over and over again, the president and other members of the administration. And Canada has to treat that seriously. It is not a joke. And we are going to fight back and stand our ground because Canada is not for sale. We are good neighbors and friends, and we have been for 150 years with the United States. But we do not want to be Americans.
Absolutely fascinating. Mr. Trudeau talked about non-tariff measures as part of Canada's retaliation. What kind of things are non-tariff measures?
Well, it's a whole range of things that could stand in.
I'm just wondering how far you go in this growing confrontation with the Trump administration.
The Prime Minister and the premiers are in a meeting right now talking about what the options might be. Many of these things would take federal provincial cooperation. But tariffs, of course, affect the flow of goods into a country. There are other non-tariff measures that export taxes, for example, or export quotas or limits that affect the flow of goods outside of a country. And those are things that will be considered among all the other possibilities to defend ourselves. We're in a very serious trade war. This could hammer our GDP by 2 or 3 or 4%. That is a huge impact. And we are going to have every tool at our disposal to make sure that we fight back effectively. And I notice that this crosses the political spectrum in Canada. We had the leader of the opposition today saying very strong things. And before he said, Canada will bear any burden, will pay any price in order to defend itself. We've had the former Premier of Alberta on the television today, very articulately defending Canada's national interests right across the board. So I've never seen Canadians as unified,
patriotic,
and as agitated as they are about this topic, even to the point of taking it to the ice and the hockey arenas and making it abundantly clear who is the best team in the world. And by the way, we did beat the Americans in the final. So that's when it affects our national sport, you can tell Canadians are deadly serious about this.
Do you think that Donald Trump is now a bigger friend to Vladimir Putin's Kremlin than he is to Canada?
Well, I mean, the Prime Minister in his remarks really asked people to contemplate this. On a day in which brutal tariffs are launched against Canada, he sides with Mr. Putin on the issue of Ukraine. And the Prime Minister said, make sense of that. You know, it just boggles the mind. One hopes you don't have to come to the conclusion that you expressed, but my goodness, the accumulating evidence is truly shocking. And I think countries around the world have to be calm, have to be logical and fact-based, but don't be naive. Don't believe it couldn't happen here or it couldn't happen to you. It's a global risk and a global danger. And in fact, it's already affecting people all around the world, including in the UK, because a lot of British investors have money in those stock markets that went into the toilet today. And that is because Mr. Trump launched a trade war against Canada.
Mr. High Commissioner, from one mind-boggled mind to another, thank you very much indeed.